Greetings and happy Stranger Things Day. I just got back from doing a somewhat impromptu cosplay photo shoot of myself, just myself in the woods, of Nancy Wheeler from season 1. I'm obviously still wearing part of the costume, and I'm gonna react now to the Welcome to California trailer that was dropped this morning. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Welcome to California, indeed. I like that this trailer doesn't really stray from this group. Like in the Creel House trailer, if you can call it a trailer, it really was very much about Hawkins. You got just them. It's just the Byers and 11. There's no, we get the one shot of Mike, but otherwise we're sticking with this one group and one group only. I like that. I think that's pretty good. In fact, I almost kind of wonder, based on the way that this trailer is set up, I actually kind of wonder if we're going to see some episodes in the 4th season that stay entirely within California and then entirely in Hawkins. Entirely in Hawkins makes sense. That's been where we've been all along, but I think it'd be kind of cool if they do whole episodes where you don't leave California. You're like just here, because that's what they did with Lost Sister. And as I will be discussing a lot when I review that episode, that's one of the things I think that makes that episode so very hated. There is no other episode like it before or since where you are with just one person, one character, and you don't cut away to other groups. I kind of wonder if, despite the backlash that got, if they'll actually do that again. Especially because if they did it now, it's not just one character. You have Elle, you have Will, you have Jonathan, and you have Joyce. I'm a little bummed we didn't get to see more of Joyce in this trailer. I understand this is clearly from Eleven's point of view. I mean, it's very typical Stranger Things. I'm very invested already. I really want to know what Will's up to. I love that he's painting. That's really cool that he's continuing to really invest in being an artist. That's great. 11 looks like she's picked up a little bit of that. I'm a little worried about Jonathan, if I'm honest. He's going to become a stoner. I kind of hope that doesn't happen, but I guess we'll see. I'm really curious about this guy driving them to school. I actually haven't kept up a lot on what's been talked about, what's been rumored with the new cast and everything. I'm reacting to these trailers that they're releasing, but I'm kind of trying to go in pretty much otherwise cold. In spite of the fact that I like to have a lot of production information, I haven't been following the set photos very closely. Just, when they come up in my, my social media feeds, I look at them, I check them out, but I'm trying not to go down those rabbit holes, because I really want to come into season 4 kind of clean. And then as the season hits, I want to be able to react and then do some research after the fact, especially because right now so much is rumor. But in spite of the fact that this does feel very different, not just from previous seasons of Stranger Things, but also from, it feels very different from that Creel House trailer. They don't feel like they're part of the same story. And that may be intentional, but at the same time, that worries me a little bit, that we have this disparity between tone, and that may be just them trying to say, we're covering a pretty broad range of stuff. At the same time, I don't want to judge that too quickly, because this is just a trailer. One of my biggest gripes with season 3 was that the color palette was so different. I know I've mentioned that at least a couple times in at least the episodes that have been released of the podcast so far, but this doesn't feel like glitzy 80s glam the way that Starcourt Mall kind of bled into the whole show. It's definitely not a New England town, but it's a lot of earth tones, it's a lot of browns, and it still feels very 80s without, I think, being too over the top. The show itself could prove to be very different, but just aesthetically, I like what I'm seeing here. This feels more like Stranger Things to me. I'm curious to know too, how did they end up in California and why? I mean, again, that might be out in the zeitgeist somewhere, but I haven't heard it. I would like to know what kind of correspondence 11 has with Max, considering that Max lived in California. And I just feel so bad that Elle is having such a hard time. I mean, it bums me out kind of on a more meta level that 11 is back in a situation where she has to go to a place. I mean, granted, it's not hard to say what home life is like, because clearly she and Will look like, I mean, at least the shots we get in this trailer, they look like they're getting along, everything looks fine. But the fact that she has to go to school and people are clearly mean to her every day, it's better than the lab. But it's still, it's kind of, we've said a number of times, like, can Will just catch a break? I kind of hope that 11 could catch a break. Like, wow, she finally gets a chance to go be a regular kid, and unfortunately she's also getting some of the downsides of being a regular kid. That's kind of a bummer. I am really excited that there's going to clearly be some stuff at a roller rink because I love roller skating. I love roller rinks. I kind of wish in all the 80s nostalgia that more roller rinks had like come back into popularity, that there were more of them around because I love skating. So I'm excited to see like what happens at the roller rink. I hope it doesn't get busted up. And this is one occasion where like this is a lot of 80s glitz and glam, but it feels like this is one part of a much bigger whole. I will be less than thrilled though if the roller rink ends up becoming like a central focal point of the season, at least from where the Byers and 11 are at. But it doesn't give me that impression from this trailer. It looks like it's a highlight at one point rather. I mean, it may even only be in one episode. We'll see. But there's a lot of action in this montage. And I don't mind action. I think action is fun. I mean, I stand by what Heidi and I said about the van chase at the end of season 1. Very minimalistic compared to just a lot of other things in general, but even compared to where they would take Stranger Things as a show. Yet it's very gripping, it's very exciting because of the stakes that are at play, because of the story and the character motivations and the threat that's being leveled at them. And it concludes with this like pretty powerhouse move from 11. That's my only real issue with action, is if it's not motivated or organic. So I'm hoping that this is all that way. It looks pretty good. I'm down, and yeah, best spring break ever. So it's having the desired effect, I think. I'm intrigued, I'm interested, I'm very excited to see these characters again. The slight twinge of frustration that it's evoking in that, like, oh, we're not seeing enough of Joyce, we're not seeing enough of Will. That's a feature, not a bug. I think that's a case of like, oh, I'm ready to catch back up with Will, I'm ready to catch back up with Joyce. I can't wait to see like how they're doing and what they're up to. Really hoping we get to see that Will has a whole like bunch of new art nerd friends. He's in a new D&D campaign, maybe he's DMing now, and that, Joyce has got a great new job. She's, maybe she has a job where she's making a little bit more money, so they're not having to strain quite so much. I think this is a pretty great trailer. It definitely left me wanting a lot more. Yeah, I'm excited. I didn't expect to be this excited about season 4 because as I've alluded to, season 3 left kind of left a bit of a bittersweet sort of reaction, a bitter taste, and I was kind of alone in that. Heidi and I Heidi was even a little bit more positive than I was, but we agreed about a lot of the things that we didn't care for in season 3. So I was conflicted because they said there was going to be they said season 3 was going to be the last one, and then they turned around and said, no, we're going to do some more. There was an article that was released in Screen Rant, I believe sometime last year. I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well and in the description. Them having to slow down for COVID, Sean Levy and the Duffers, they reevaluated where they were headed with this show. And that's kind of the big takeaway I think I got from season 3, and I felt better about that even after I read this article, because there was a sense of they kind of admitted, sort of indirectly, that they really didn't know what they wanted to do with the show. I think season 3 really shows that. Season 2 was a little bit messier than season 1, but I still think they had a pretty strong vision of what they wanted to do. I think hence The Lost Sister. And I think season 3 just felt a lot more chaotic, a lot less controlled, a lot less clear about what they wanted. So hearing that and seeing that in the article, it was like, okay, you guys were aware of that. And then moving forward into a season 4, they said we really had a chance to sort of narrow the scope and really figure out what we wanted, and now we have a really clear end game in sight. And it was like awesome. So I'm a lot more encouraged about everything else coming out. I still have concerns. I mean, of course we all do, but I'm really happy that I feel so interested and I'm so encouraged by what I'm seeing. So love to know your thoughts. Join the conversation. All of our social media stuff is in the show notes and in the description. Thanks for joining me for this little breakdown, and until next time, over and out. them trying to say like we're covering a pretty broad range of stuff. Hello, neighbor dogs. They want to get in on this discussion too.